Hey y'all, it's Jennifer. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am finally coming to you with the second installment in my bookshelf overhaul series. So I really intended for this to be at least a once a month video because I am trying to currently overhaul all of the spaces where I store books. I say spaces instead of shelves because there are so many books I have that are not on shelves actually. And so that's part of this project, is really just unhauling, but it's also going to be finding space for the books that I have. And so the ultimate goal is to get more shelves. That's not what this video is about though. But I'm joining you from a very different location because the thing that we are going to be overhauling today is technically my TBR cart. Now, my TBR cart is not down here. It is not located at my desk. But one thing that is located at my desk is my crafting cart, which is a smaller version of kind of the standard TBR cart, let's say. Here we go. I'm lifting it up off the ground. I don't know how I'm doing it. I could show you better footage of that, but you might can see just from the bare top of that cart that it is very, very full. I got this smaller cart initially for crafting items because I thought it would be shorter and thus it could roll underneath this desk. That has never been true. The second that I put things in the top of the cart, it was never in a million years going to roll underneath this desk. So really the reason that I got the cart is no longer true. It's no longer applicable. And my crafting items have definitely grown out of this cart. And so ultimately I want to switch this crafting cart with the cart that I have upstairs as my TBR cart. And my TBR cart is the standard size. So I would technically be moving crafting items into a larger space and downsizing the TBR cart. And so I cannot physically bring the TBR cart down here, and I cannot physically bring the crafting cart upstairs. So we kind of have to do this in two different locations. And this crafting cart just holds a whole bunch of stuff. It actually holds my K-pop albums for the most part, though. That's where they are. That's where some of them are. Some of them are over here. Some of them you can't even see. And so I always knew when I got this cart, this crafting cart, that it was going to have my K-pop albums in it. And I did it with the knowledge that that would be an expanding collection. And so it does feel pertinent to me to move into a larger space for those items, and also just for crafting items that I use all the time, but I can't leave on my desk for whatever reason. You can already see that my desk is very cluttered. It needs to be cleaned up a little bit. But so, why don't we go on and sit down on the floor, and I'm gonna clean this one out. I won't say that when I downsize the TBR cart into this cart that it means I'm going to get rid of everything that is in that cart that doesn't fit. That's not true, but some things have certainly been in that TBR cart since I put it together in 2019. It's been 3 years. At this point, am I going to read those books? These are the tough questions that I'm going to ask myself throughout this bookshelf overhaul series. And so some of those things definitely may walk, but I already have a very full bag that needs to go to the used bookstore. So let's just go on and sit down on the floor and I will clean this out with you. Okay, here we are. This is really the best angle that I could find. Here's the TBR cart. Let's take Suho off. As you can see, my whole desk area is very Suho themed. We got to find a new bias. We got to incorporate another person in here. So one thing that I don't think you can see, I did buy these sections or these little cups to put in my markers for my calligraphy and hand lettering. So I'm gonna take those off. Those are definitely going on the other cart. These are my two marker collections for my hand lettering. This is like a Hobby Lobby brand, and it has a brush tip and then a fine tip at the bottom. They're kind of the bomb. But these are the Crayola Super Tips, and they're very popular in the K-pop journaling community. And the reason is they're just very easy to use. So if you have been looking for anything to help you do your hand lettering, I think they're very easy to use, and they're very easy to kind of manipulate. Here are 3 K-pop albums by the same group, ONEUS, and I'm currently working on these in different crafting projects, so I kind of want them to be somewhere that I can easily grab them. So that's why they've been sitting on the cart on the top. Here is my big mess section, and we need to organize this. It doesn't have to be right now, but oh my gosh, this is my sticker collection. And so these are all the stickers that I use when I'm decorating top loaders and when I am journaling. I love my stickers. Oh my gosh, I love my stickers. And I put them all in this like Dollar Tree section thinking that that would help me identify them and see them better when I wanted to grab something. It's useful, but it's very top heavy, so it has to sit in the top of the cart, I think. So we'll definitely do that. So I'm gonna empty this cart first, carry it upstairs. We can go through the TBR cart, put that together. I'm gonna carry the big one back down here and put it together. Possibly, maybe not on camera, because I know that there's gonna be a lot that has to be done. Here are 2 scrapbooking paper pads that I use all the time in journaling. This is kind of like a neutral. This is kind of pastel, and I use these in journaling a lot. So again, I like to have them close to me. The unfortunate thing about this desk is I have no drawers, and so all of the shelving had to go above the desk. And actually that means it's kind of unwieldy when you just want to grab something or something that you want to use all the time. That needs to be kind of directly in front of me. I'm one of those people. Okay, these are K-pop albums. Okay, there's maybe 10, 15 of them in here. I'm shocked they all fit. In fact, I'm proud of that. So let's move them. I don't know. Let's just move them and sit them on the couch really quickly. So I'm gonna organize them while I can. So these 2 go together. The Tempo albums. Where is my other Tempo album? We will do that. This is ONEUS. Once again, why they are not all together is beyond me. Here is my other Tempo album. So feeling good. Everything is organized. Now those 3 are together. The Lotto albums are together. And then I need these 2 because they all go together. These 2 go together. This one doesn't have a pair. I just have this one. So this is my other EXO album. So basically all my EXO albums were in this little cart. So I feel kind of organized actually. Then on this bottom cart, I have stuff that I'm currently working on, but that is also going to kind of be a DIY project at another time, if that makes sense. So you often get these little like calendar things in a season's greetings. So season's greetings you can get at the beginning of the year in K-pop, and it'll have a calendar in there. This is a desk calendar, and I have one sitting up there for this year. But I like to cut them for the pictures because I actually have several season's greetings from older years. And the calendars are no longer relevant from 2019, you know. But I love the stands, and I feel like something can be done with this. Like I feel like at Halloween, this would be really cute to put like a little spell, like a witch's brew or something on. So I'm keeping these with the intent of doing something with them at a future date. They don't need to be on this cart. They don't need to be on the updated cart. I'm gonna move these to kind of the DIY section. Oh dear, well here is another EXO album, and why it was on the bottom shelf, I don't know. So at least we've organized that. I have another one of these calendar things. This is sideways. This is AT's. So I haven't cut the pictures out yet, but this is really nice because it's long ways. I just feel like you could paint these and do a lot with them. Here is a box that a season's greetings came in, and I use this to kind of catch all everything. Even when I've used up everything within the box, I'm going to use it as a place to organize other crafting items. So these boxes are super nice. And one weird thing about them, and I just have to say this, they smell like baking bread. Like they just smell so yeasty, and I love it so much. Actually, all K-pop albums kind of have that smell, and I just think it's funny. I love it. Okay, this cart is now empty, and it's ready to move upstairs to become the TBR cart. And I am tentatively excited about it, and I'm tentatively excited about downsizing the TBR cart just because the room that is in is the room that I do want to add bookshelves to. So it seems kind of pertinent to me to downsize the TBR cart anyway. But what is really confusing for me is that everything that is on my TBR is not in that TBR cart. I have more books to read than what I have read in the house. And that's always going to be true for me because I am somebody who unhauls all the time. So there's always going to be more books to read than what I have read, if that makes any sense at all. So I say we go upstairs and we get started on that. And again, everything that doesn't fit, I am really not going to stress about, and I'm not going to worry about unhauling everything that doesn't fit, but I do want to be kind of brutal with some of the books that I know have been in the cart for a very long time. Because, you know, your reading choices and your reading tastes change pretty rapidly. And so something that I was interested in a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, just may not be something that I want to spend time on now, sadly enough. And so it's time to let those books move on and go to a better home. Okay, we're now upstairs with the TBR cart, and as I think you can see by the fact that it really doesn't fit on frame, you can tell it is much bigger than this one. See, this is the top of this one, this is the top of that one. And since this, with everything in it, is not going to slide under my desk anyway, what's the point? So there are a lot of books on here, and I can already see quite a few of them that I know are going to walk. So let's go on and get into this. Let's get started on the top shelf. On the top shelf, we have The River Kings by Kat Jarman, which is a nonfiction about Vikings, and specifically a Viking site that is of major interest to me, which is where the Great Heathen Army wintered in 865, 866. That's definitely going on this cart. We then have Tender as the Night by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I believe I read this many years ago. And so why it's on the TBR cart is because I got a new edition of it. I felt like it had been a really long time since I read it. And so I just put it on the TBR cart as something I really wanted to get to last year because I went through a phase where I thought I was really going to start reading more modern classics. And I've enjoyed some modern classics this year. So I'm going to keep this on the TBR cart. Robert Graves' Count Belisarius, a historical fiction of the Byzantine Empire. Again, from that kind of hazy period where I thought I was really going to get into modern classics. And so I'm definitely keeping this one on the cart because I'm still very, very interested in it. We have The House on the Strand by Daphne du Maurier. I'm going to keep that. So we're not downsizing yet, but okay. Here we go. Here's something I think we can get rid of. IDNF'd House of Leaves. Just don't really feel like it's going to ever be something that I get into, so let's go on and put that one away. Kingdom of the Grail by Judith Tarr. I used to really like Judith Tarr. I don't know what this is about. It's been on the cart for 3 years. This is one of the ones I know was on the cart in the beginning, it seems like. And so, you know what? It's time to let this one move on. I also have The Dante Club by Matthew Pearl, which is a former library book. I'm not really interested in books that were once library books. I just don't like to read them. And I don't really like to read physical library books like this anymore. There's just something very unwieldy about them. And I know my library has this on ebook, so I'm gonna get rid of that one. Another one, I'm also going to get rid of this. This is a former library book. The Last English King by Julian Rathbone. Another one that I do believe has been in this cart from the very beginning, or at least since 2019 when I put the cart together. So let's just get rid of that one. I think anything that is a former library book, I'm just going to go on and be kind of vicious with and just get rid of. We then have The Castle of Otranto by Horace Walpole, which is actually a book I have read. So why it is on the TBR cart is a little bit of a mystery to me. But I'm going to get rid of this. I didn't really care for it. It's one of the very first Gothic novels, so it's very important in terms of what it did for the genre. But it wasn't really an enjoyable read. You know, as it is with most things that are kind of starting trends. The trendsetter is not really often the best. So I think what he set up and what he evolved is very interesting because I have enjoyed other Gothic works far more than that, but it's very short. And again, I've read it, so I don't know why it is on this cart. We then have My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. I don't know. I want to keep this on the one hand. On the other hand, I know I've started it and I DNF'd it, and I just don't know if it's for me, but there's something about her writing and there's something about the culture around Elena Ferrante that I find very fascinating. And because I tend to really enjoy Italian written books, I want to give this one another chance. So I think I'll keep this. I'm going to put it on the cart for the time being. We can always eliminate things from the cart. And if I want it and it doesn't fit on the cart, I'll find somewhere else for it, you know. Then we have The Fires of Heaven by Robert Jordan. I don't know how I feel about this. At one time, I really thought I was going to invest and I was really going to read all of the Wheel of Time books. But, you know, I'm feeling kind of vicious and I'm feeling kind of like I should let this one go. I don't have any interest in reading all of the Wheel of Time anymore. I just don't. I don't have any interest in a series that long, and I also was extremely disappointed by the television show, and so part of me was always just reading it for the experience and to discuss it with other people, and I just think at its heart Wheel of Time is probably not my fantasy story. I'm gonna let this one go. I know that people will be really happy to find it at a used bookstore. We then have The Fountains of Silence by Ruta Sepetys, and this is something shameful. I have not read this, and I went to a book signing for this. She came to my town and did a book signing for this years ago when it came out, and I still haven't read it, but this is about the Civil War in Spain, and I'm definitely still interested in this one, so I'm going to move it over. But you see there's my post-it note for her to sign my name in it, and there you go, for Jennifer. Shameful. I mean, I literally went to her event, and I think she's a very inspiring speaker. She is a really interesting person. Last on the top shelf, we have Thief Taker by D.B. Jackson, which is kind of about the American Revolution. And there was a time in my life when I just lapped up American Revolution historical fiction, but I've heard some not so great things about this one. I know I picked it up at a library book sale, and I'm not feeling pulled toward it. So in the interest of making more space for those possibly incoming bookshelves, I say we let this one go. Okay, second shelf, we have The Little Drummer Girl by John le Carré. Definitely keeping this one because I love and adore John le Carré. So I'm interested in that one. That's one of his standalone novels. It's one of the ones that's not in a series, and so that's why I picked that up, because I've apparently jumped around in his series quite a bit, and so I wanted to read something that was kind of a standalone. I then have The Poet and the Vampire by Andrew McConnell Scott, The Curse of Byron, and the Birth of Literature's Greatest Monsters. This is a nonfiction about Polidori and Byron kind of creating the vampire, and Byron as the inspiration for the vampire character. I'm still interested in this, but I don't know that I need a physical copy of it. I'm going to keep it, though, just in case. We then have Jane Seymour, The Haunted Queen. Definitely still interested in this by Alison Weir. I just wanted to read this series in order, and I didn't have the first book in the series, so we're definitely keeping that one. Then we have The Candle and the Flame by Nafisa Azad. This is another that I know for a fact has been on this cart for 3 years, and I just from that alone feel like I must not be interested in it. So you know what? I'm going to let this one go. I'm going to give this one away. That is kind of like a YA fantasy, it seems like. I don't know. But see, the fact that I don't know also indicates to me that maybe it's time for it to move on. I then have The Bookseller of Florence by Ross King, which was a lovely Christmas gift to me from Tori from Hufflepuff Discovery. And so definitely keeping this one. And this is up on the docket for me in the next couple of months. So this is one that I really want to get to soon. So I'm going to tuck this on the second shelf. Oh dear. So we are running into one of the problems that I wondered if we would have. So books are too tall to go on these smaller shelves. Let's see. Okay, these little paperbacks we're going to have to put down on the bottom. Let's put the paperbacks down on the bottom shelf, the short books, because that's what we're going to have to do. Then we have Small Favors by Aaron A. Craig. I, as a matter of fact, believe I read this one. So again, why it's on the TBR card is beyond me, but I'm definitely keeping it because it's such a beautiful cover. I'll put it on the TBR card and verify. Maybe I lent it to a friend and I know somebody read it and it wasn't me. So maybe there's a reason it's on the TBR card. Jenny of the Past, I want to say, you can't trust her. because I don't know what she was doing. Then we have Dino by Nick Tosches, which is a biography of Dean Martin. Still definitely on my TBR. I planned on reading this winter. I often go through like a classic Hollywood phase each winter, and I want to read a lot of classic Hollywood biographies and memoirs. Since I was in such a big slump, and I still kind of am in such a big slump, I decided not to read it this winter, so that's definitely still on the TBR. We also have Cold Warriors, Writers Who Waged the Literary Cold War by Duncan White. This is a former library book. I got this from Thrift Books. In so many ways, I often wish that I hadn't gotten this physically, or at least that I had waited until the paperback came out, because I really wanted to annotate it, and there have been many times I have wanted to read this one. And I just think the book is so unwieldy. It's so heavy. Not only is it big, but it really feels like its size. But I think the subject matter is fascinating. I'm often pulled to picking this one up, but it's just such a hard book to hold. But definitely keeping that one. I've got to turn that sideways on the TBR cart. We have In the Name of the Family by Sarah Dunant, which is the second in her Borgia duology. Most definitely we are keeping this. This is still on my TBR. High on my TBR. I just want to read the first one in that Borgia duology again before I go into this one. Then we have God Blind by Anna Stevens. I don't know about this. I've heard some interesting reviews of this one. Not all of them positive, and a lot of them by booktubers whose reviews I at least semi-trust, and I feel like I would at least agree with. And so I think, you know what? I think I'm going to let this one go. We then have Jamaica Inn by Daphne du Maurier. This is for a similar reason on the cart as Tender as the Night by F. Scott Fitzgerald. This is a book I have read. It was many, many years ago, and I really wanted to reread it. And so when I got another edition of it, a used edition of it, I just put it on the TBR cart as something I wanted to reread very soon. So I'm still going to do that because I am very interested in reading that quite soon. I love Daphne du Maurier. We are on the bottom tier of the cart, so we're feeling good. I have Dream of Me, Believe in Me. Don't know who this is by. This is Viking romance, okay? I'm not going to be ashamed of it. I've read many Viking romances in my day just because I wanted to read some kind of Viking fiction, and I just couldn't find anything other than romance. I really have a problem with a lot of Viking romances. So this one I'm going to let go of. I was doing an experiment one time where I was reading Viking romances for a video, which never came out because I was so discouraged by the few that I read. So I know there are still a few floating around that I just didn't read for that project after I decided I was done with it, you know. We then have The Luminaries by Eleanor Catton. This is still on my TBR. And it's been a March of the Mammoths option for me the past couple of years. I just haven't gotten to it, but I feel sure this is one I would really love. I just want to take my time with this one. We have The Fortunes of Perkin Warbeck by Mary Shelley. Of course, we're keeping this one. I love Mary Shelley. This is her Wars of the Roses historical fiction. Definitely, we are keeping that. I then have A General History of Pirates by Daniel Defoe. This is technically on my TBR, but it's not a book I really intend to read straight through. This is a book that I think I really got because I intended to put it on my reference shelf. I intended for this to be a book I referenced for research purposes. What am I researching? You know, absolutely nothing. But I still have a kind of a reference shelf from my history university days. So I'll keep that on the TBR cart for the time being, but I don't know that this is a place it's going to live because it's not a book I ever plan to just sit down and read cover to cover. I think it's a book that I will reach into piece by piece and just find information that I'm really interested in at the time. We then have Legacy of Kings by Eleanor Herman. This is historical fantasy about Alexander the Great. Still very much interested in this one, so this is going on the cart. Then we have The Gods Will Have Blood by Anatole France and 93 by Victor Hugo. Similar to my phase of thinking that I wanted to read modern classics, I also went through a phase where I thought I wanted to read classics about the French Revolution, and I still do want to read classics about the French Revolution. So these are definitely staying, and I am really intrigued by Anatole France. And I apparently started 93. As you can see, I was tabbing that. I don't know if you can see it, but I was tabbing that, which is so strange to me. So these I'm definitely keeping around. We have The Black Count by Tom Rice, which is about Alexander Dumas' father. Definitely still interested in that, and kind of goes hand in hand with the French Revolution stuff a little bit. I have Possession by A.S. Byatt. I have heard from a lot of y'all over the years that this is a book I would truly love. And so I'm going to try this, but I think I'm going to wait until the fall. I just feel like it's kind of a dark academia vibe. And so I think it would really fit well in kind of September, October, you know. I have Luigi Pirandello's 6 Characters in Search of an Author and Other Plays. I'm still interested in this, but I've read a couple of plays recently, and frankly, I just don't enjoy reading them. You know, I think really the old tried and true adage that you need to see a play performed rather than read it, I absolutely think that is true. And so for me, I'm now wrestling with, do I even want to keep the plays I have on my TBR? Because am I really interested in reading them, if that makes any sense? Then I have Faust by Goethe. This is also semi a play, but I'm excited because I know this is in verse, and so I'm really excited about that. I have Utopia by Thomas More. I'm interested in this, but I'm not really sure why I got this edition of it, because I hate these really small Penguin Classics. I used to really like them, but they just fall apart the second that you open them up now. I also have The Shadow Rising by Robert Jordan, which is the 4th book in the Wheel of Time series. And you know what? We got rid of the 5th one. Why not get rid of the 4th one? So I'm putting that on the pile. It's going. Last but not least is another book that we can get rid of. And that is The Ravens of Avalon by Diana L. Paxson and basically Marion Zimmer Bradley. And this is a former library book. I have zero interest in Marion Zimmer Bradley anymore. I still truly love Mists of Avalon, and I don't know that I'll ever be able to get over that. But so much has come out about her personally that deeply, deeply upsets me. And also, I already was feeling as though this series went on for a really long time. And again, right now anyway, I have no interest in finishing a long series or getting involved in a series that is super long. So we have cleaned out the TBR cart, and we have decided to get rid of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 books. So we got rid of 12 books off of the TBR cart. And I'm gonna carry this downstairs and get the crafting area set up. And this cart is actually not full. And I think some of that is the fact that this bigger cart also was not full. So I still have some space to grow. It's just got to be short books. If you want to know my opinion about these carts, really, I'm just going to go on and say, I don't think that you should get this small one, because I don't think it's going to do well for the TBR cart. I don't think it's going to do well for a crafting cart. It's just if you have a little bit of stuff, if that makes sense. So I'm going to carry this one downstairs. I don't think I'll set it up on camera because I'm going to move some stuff around and I need to make some decisions. So I think that'll be all from me right now. But I would love to know if you utilize a TBR cart. Do you keep all of your TBR books together? But that's going to be all from me today. I hope you're all having a great week. Happy reading. Goodbye.